everyone, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to share my completed pages for January 2025. I'm starting with the Creatures of Ken Matsuda. This is the Hatchet Heroes French version, and I used Kuretake Gansai Tambi Art Nouveau paints to do this page. It was one of the earliest pages I did with the paints, and I really enjoyed them so much I ended up going on to buy the 48 set of paints as well. I also did 2 buddy colours in this book this month with my friend Sue on Instagram. I'd like to get this book coloured from cover to cover eventually, so that might be one of my little goals this year. This page is also based mostly in the Kuretake Gansai Tambi Art Nouveau range. I also brought in some Crayola Super Tips both as markers and as watercolour washes, Faber-Castell Black Edition pencils and some chalk pastel in the background which I have fixed. Sue and I also did a buddy colour on this page here. This again is the Kuretake Gansai Tambi Art Nouveau range. I think the Gansai Tambi paints are going to feature quite a bit in completing this book because I like the way that it is working with these images. I used the left hand side as a loose base for my colour selection, and not all the colours in this side were available in the Art Nouveau range. Pardon me. And I also brought in a few polychromos pencils which I used to put some details back in there, but very, very little polychromos pencils used there. So that was with my friend Sue as well. Then I went to Pop Manga Flights of Fancy by Camilla Derico, and this was untouched because I only recently received this particular book quite late in the year, and I used Faber-Castell Black Edition pencils again on all the figures and the birds. I don't tend to work with coloured pencil on that sort of amount anymore, for want of a better word. Doesn't sound right, but anyway. I usually base the page in something else and then just bring the pencils in at the end for extra colour and details, but for some reason I felt like colouring the pencils on this particular one. I think it's because the pop manga style of Camilla Derico really is so fun and vibrant that coloured pencils gives me, you know, some really nice rich colours. But the background is the Gansai Tambi paints again, and I also used Starry Colours Gold. So this is the set by Kuretake, Starry Colours. The gold is very shiny in that particular set, and I just like the way that that shines and glitters. I also used Kuretake Gem Colours for the blue butterflies. That is slightly metallic, got a bit of a metallic sheen to it there. Nowhere near as shiny as the gold though. I've also used a little bit of Wink of Stella on some of the butterflies, if I can get that to reflect the light a little bit, just here and there. But the majority of the page is actually coloured pencil. So really fun colouring those ones. I then went on to do this page, which has, again, the Faber-Castell Black Edition coloured pencils as a base. I also brought in some Crazy Art markers, which are very similar to the Crayola Super Tips, and then blocked in the background with acrylic paint. It's a little bit patchy. My painting skills with the acrylic could do with a little bit of a polish, but I'm satisfied with it. I think it looks perfectly adequate. So I enjoyed using those colours as well. And this page, double spread, I decided to treat it as a swatch for the Kuretake Gansai Tambi Art Nouveau range again. If you follow me, you would know that I don't tend to do swatching very often because I don't even tend to go back and look at swatches very often. But the fact that there were so many similar repeating flower shapes and it was very busy, it wouldn't normally be a picture that I would be drawn to colouring. But I thought it was perfect for trying out all the different colours on the one page to see how they all work together. And that's enough now for me to have a visual of what the colours work like and so on, so I don't really need to have a swatch. That's generally not how I pick my colours anyway. And I decided to fill in the background with an acrylic paint marker, which really helped to make those colours pop. And the good thing about the Kuretake Gansai Tambi paints that I'm finding is that they don't generally bleed through. So even though I'm using lots of water and I'm getting very wrinkly, crinkly pages, the actual colours are not bleeding through, which is really nice. I can put up with that, you know, the wrinkling of pages and so on. As long as I'm not ruining all the pages behind there, I can put up with it. So it's working quite well in these books. Now I have Find Colour by Gageli, and I did this page at the beginning here. There's nothing at the top there, it's all plain. And this one is Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer pencils. Again, I use lots of water, so it's quite wrinkly, but I didn't have any bleed through whatsoever with those Albrecht Dürer pencils either. Excuse me. There is a video for this one, I believe. There's also a video for the swatch page if you're interested. I just did this side here, so if you're interested in seeing that, there's also a video for that one. Manga, Beauties and Beasties by Camilla Derico. I did this particular one here, the koalas. I did it around Australia Day. And again, this is the Kuretake Gansai Tambi Art Nouveau range because I'm really interested in learning as much as I can about the paints at the moment. So I'm doing lots of pages one after the other. And I'm trying different books and different paper and so on to see what result I get. This particular one I've used Prismacolor coloured pencils over the top of the koalas there for some extra detail, and in her hair. A little bit around here, but the rest is watercolour. And again, you see that there is no bleed through from those Gansai Tambi paints. So quite a unique range of colours, and I'm having a lot of fun playing with that. Then I went back to an R.J. Hampson book, Hide and Seek. And I did this page called A Camouflage of Chameleons. This one has crazy art markers, Faber-Castell connector pens, lots of water in the background there. And then I've used some coloured pencil over the top. If you've got any particular questions about anything here that I haven't touched on, please let me know in the comments and I'll do my best. Now this one doesn't quite fit on either. This book's quite a tall book compared to some. So there's the top part. And I decided to describe these as galahs. I'm not sure if Russell meant them to be galahs or cockatoos, but I went for galahs. And I used water-based markers again on the background, lots of water, and then some coloured pencil over the top. And you can see the effects of using water with the water-based markers again. And I did that for the jetty here, and then I've used coloured pencil over the top just to give it more texture. So that one I coloured for Australia Day. Now this one is a bit of a experiment. This book is Tea Party by Nicolette Delafray. Nicolette very kindly sent me this book to review, and the pages in this book are designed for you to have some very quick, easy wins. So the book is a smaller format. There are smaller designs, you know, some simpler designs so that you can just colour and sit down in a short period of time and have a completed image. But I decided to do something a little bit differently. I haven't really had much experience of altering pages with collaging items onto there, so I thought I'd have a go at doing that. Found it a lot harder than I thought. But the colours of these flowers then helped me choose my colour scheme. I used some Albrecht Dürer pencils for the watercolour background. This paper really didn't like the water. It's you know, it's a bit thinner than what I'm used to from Amazon, and it really didn't cope with the amount of water that I had on there. But it was a good experiment, and I've used washi tape around the outside and also some alcohol markers in there with a bit of coloured pencil over the top. So it was a bit of a mixed media play, something different for me, and obviously I need a lot more practice with these, bringing in other elements, but I enjoyed it a lot. So that's Tea Party by Nicolette Delafray. I also worked in my other Googly book, which is called Colourful Time, and this is a video on the channel as well. Again, a little bit too tall for the way that I've got the camera set up, but we'll do our best there. So this was Kiritaki Gansai Tambi, but not the Art Nouveau range this time. It was the 48 set that I bought, and I've used some of the starry coloured gold on the edge of his robe and the beads, and I used a very small amount of Ohuhu fine liner to reinstate some of the details in there. But if you're interested, there is a video where I colour the page from start to finish in real time. I really like the way the background worked out on that one. It was just very random the way that I did it, but in hindsight, once it had dried and I looked at it from a distance, it really looks like a dramatic sky with cloud behind him, but that wasn't what I was intending at all when I did it, but I'm happy with that. So that is Colourful Time by Googly. Now I struggled a little bit this month where I had a period of time where I wasn't really colouring very much. I don't really think it was a colouring slump, but I was just struggling a little bit with what I felt like colouring. So to keep my hand in, I decided when everything seemed too hard that I would just colour some of these really small images. Now I'm not going to try and pronounce this because I'll get it wrong, but it's Crystal Vogel's book. I think it's the Enchanted Forest or Enchanted World. Enchanted Forest is what I've written down as a translation. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. So it's a small format book. Let me just grab R.J. Hampson book here, which is an Amazon printed book, and you can see that it's you know, quite a bit smaller than your regular Amazon printed book. And then on the left hand side of this book they have these little small accompanying images that go with the more detailed image on the right hand side. So I went through and coloured a few of these little images, and I used water-based markers, and then later I came back and sat down with coloured pencil and put some coloured pencil over the top of it. So to start with, I just used those water-based markers, and I have to be careful in this book because if I just use the marker lightly, it doesn't bleed through, but if I put water on it or overwork things, it does bleed through. So I just sat down one night with the markers and just coloured a few pages and thought, right, I'll come back later with some coloured pencil when I feel like it. So I did that one as well. Just keeping it really simple. And that's what I thought I'd do to get myself out of the little rut that I was in. I would, I did this one as well. I would just do very simple, you know, back to basics colouring on small images. So this page here, I used the markers and some water, and you can see that that's what has caused all that damage. Now this page here was a experiment as well. At the beginning part of the month, I went through and I used some watercolour ground on several different books to prepare some pages and then see how various products worked on top of that watercolour ground. So this one, you can see that I didn't have any bleed through. It's wrinkly, but I've got no bleed through. And it's probably not as wrinkled as what normal pages are. But I used water-based markers in the background here. I coloured onto the page first and then used water to dilute it. And then I came back later with some coloured pencil over the top of it. And what I found with the watercolour ground is not only does it help you when it comes to the water-based mediums, but it lightens off the print of the image quite a bit. So instead of being black like that, the image was more of a grey. And there is quite a bit of texture depending on how much water I diluted the watercolour ground with when I was painting the page with it, preparing it. I've actually got some areas that feel quite textured with the way that I put that watercolour ground on. So while I was in this mood of doing very simple, I also decided that, you know, not every page has to be finished with such a highly polished detail sort of approach, and I decided to leave this looking a little bit more painterly with the way that I did the water-based mediums and then the colour pencil over the top. So I haven't tried to be overly careful or detailed with that page, but I'm quite happy with the way that that worked. So yes, it does stop the bleed through quite a bit, but I'm not sure that I'm 100% happy with the effect that I'm getting or how it feels. I think I need a bit more practice with it. So that was that book by Crystal Vogel. Getting to the end now, guys. And then I finished off the month with some very simple colouring in this book. I've owned it for quite some time and not coloured in it for a while. It's the Tarot Colouring book by Manga. And it's very much a tattoo style book. The artist is actually a tattoo artist. I can't remember where it tells us now. Oliver Munden. Large-scale murals and retail interiors to record covers, paper and skin. Vintage skate art, psychedelia, Renaissance art, and most notably European, American and Japanese tattoo aesthetics. So quite a different book for me anyway. And I'm really interested in all the different ways that people use art to portray tarot cards. There are many different sets that you can buy now with so many different styles of art on them. They're just works of art in themselves, whether you use them as tarot cards or not. And this book does have the name of the card, key meanings, wisdom from the cards, and some colour notes about what traditional tarot cards may have been coloured with. And I decided to go completely against that for this one. So that's Justice, and I did the Hermit. The Hermit was, the Hermit's cloak was traditionally a deep blue. Its lining in a Parisian deck from 1650 was brown and gold. So I decided to go with a bit of all of that for that one. And this one I've actually used acrylic paint markers on these ones and some water-based markers as well. And then the last one is the Wheel of Fortune. Now this one says a 15th century Milanese deck features the Wheel of Fortune in, pardon me, pardon me, I've got a scratchy throat. Features the Wheel of Fortune in gold, green and light and dark shades of blue. So I use that as a bit of a base. And I've got different types of Sakura jelly roll, glaze and metallic. So you might be able to see a little bit of the shine here on the glaze pens. So this book I struggle a bit with the style because I don't quite know how to colour it. So I've tried to do shading on some, and then others I've just done more of a saturated block colouring. I've used water-based markers, watercolour pencils, coloured pencils, and then these three, I just suddenly dawned on me that why don't I try the acrylic paint markers and see how they go. I quite enjoyed working on them with the acrylic paint markers actually. So that finishes up my completed pages, and the last whip that I have is that this one is on the channel as a video as well. I didn't quite get round to finishing this, I lost interest in it. But this is another one of the pages that I pre-prepared with the watercolour ground. And I used water-based markers as watercolours. I've got the Gansai Tambi paints, and I've also used acrylic paint markers. I tried a bit of everything just to see what would happen because this book, well, Millie Marotta books and the paper in them confound me quite a bit, to be honest. And I've never quite worked out what's the best medium for me to work in them. So I was really interested to see whether the watercolour ground would allow me to work with watercolour effects. And it does somewhat, to some degree. I mean, this does look really nice the way all that has worked. And it did not bleed through. There's just a couple of spots, and that's where I used a Crayola Super Tip, quite saturated. And I think what may have happened is I may have not got an even layer of watercolour ground down, and that has come through because none of the rest of it, and this was all soaking wet, but none of the rest of it has bled through at all. So this page has been prepared as well. I don't know when I'll come back to having a go on that, but you can see maybe how the print is a lot lighter with the watercolour ground over the top of it. So if you're someone who likes to go over the lines because you don't like black lines, then this idea, or you know, a gesto maybe, might be suitable for you. I don't know, you have to give it a go, but it does give a bit of a texture that's very similar to a very, very fine sandpaper. So anyway, this is the one that I worked on, and yeah, I didn't quite come back to it. I've used a little bit of little bit of Jelly Roll metallic as well on there. Just a bit of everything basically, some pencil, just to sort of see how that would work out. But I got to that point and ran out of steam. So I've got that one. So I have to say that I've really enjoyed working with the watercolor paints, and I've also enjoyed working with the Albrecht Dürer. These are two of my favourite pages for the month. Enjoyed those an awful lot, and I always enjoy working in this particular book, and I think that, yeah, I will try to push through this year and actually complete this book if I can, because I just really enjoy colouring in it. But now that I found the Genzo Tambi paints, even more so, I think it's really going to become a favourite medium for me. Okay, I hope you enjoyed seeing those pages. It wasn't quite as prolific as I have been in past months. I did have a little bit of a lull. I also did some drawing. And I'll just quickly show you a little bit of that. I pre-prepared some pages in a sketchbook and, well, in various sketchbooks, and then I use them to draw over the top of and make some notes for myself. And I'm really interested in trying to learn how to draw more of a whimsical style animals and characters. And I've been following an online course by Lisa Glanz, Glanz. Lisa is also on Instagram. She has a website and so on. So I've been following some of her tutorials. So you can see that some of these I've been following her step-by-step tutorials about how to use the shapes to get animals and so on, and then I've used that to develop some of my own animals and in my own way. So you can see that I've done quite a bit of drawing. And I'd like to do a lot more of that as the year goes through as well. I want that to become a bit more of a regular habit. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed seeing those pages. As I say, if there's anything else you'd like to know about specifically that I haven't touched on, leave me a comment and I'll do my best to answer your questions. Thanks for spending time with me again today, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye now.